Okay, awesome. So hi everyone. This is a session on crafting your resume for top universities. Basically, crafting it in a way so when you're submitting college applications, it's crafted in a way that what you really want to project is coming out. And why this is particularly relevant for top colleges is because the way I will guide you will not be for you to land a job, or it will not be for you to for any other purpose, but it will be from the purpose of one, maintaining records for yourself, or for applying to top universities. So I'm Navya, I'm the founder of College Smart, and I think a lot of you already know me. I graduated from Indiana University, Kelly School of Business. It's a top 10 business school in the US. I'm an international certified career coach, and a college counselor. I'm the chief counselor here at College Smart. This is essentially what we do at College Smart. We are guiding students to all top universities across the globe through career counseling and college counseling. We do both undergrad and postgrad applications. Our students have been admitted to top universities across the globe, and the way we're able to do it is by helping students file building, aptitude testing, as well as through scholarship applications as well. Received on PhonePe. Okay. Thank you. You did not have to pay anything for the session. Okay. All right. So I think quickly on the chat, what are you all refining your resume for so that I know that we're all here with the same intent? Can you all quickly tell me, is it for your college applications? Is it for an internship or a dream job that you all are really looking forward to? Let's all quickly type in the chat box. What are you refining your resume today for? College applications. Okay, perfect. So does anybody know what the difference is between a resume and a CV? Does anyone want to make a guess at it?
A CV is presented at hiring from basically for a job, and a resume is for internships as well as applications for colleges.
And what did you say CV was for?
Applying for jobs.
Okay. You could say so. You're pretty close. Anybody else? Okay, so one of the biggest difference that you should know is, so that you can also use the word appropriately, is that resume is supposed to be one page. That's one basic thing that you need to keep in mind. It is usually for recruiters, but it should be relevant to the job you're applying for. So it's very straightforward. It isn't something that you'll be talking here and there about. It's to the point, but we also use this for postgrad applications, which is why it becomes much more relevant. When you're applying at an undergrad level, they're pretty flexible. If you're using a resume or a CV format, they will be okay even if you're even if it extends up to 2 pages. They should be okay with it. That being said, we've also guided students from at an undergrad level. She had, I think, about 3 or 4 pages of her CV, wherein she had really done a lot. She had added a lot of information, and she was admitted to top university. So it isn't that if you have 3 or 4 pages, but it has to be relevant. It really has to show your journey. Okay. When you're looking at a CV, as I said, it can be multiple pages. Usually for academic purposes, it is what it's used for, but it is a comprehensive overview of your academic achievements as well as co-curricular achievements. So anything that you've done. The format of CV is pretty boring and pretty unprofessional. So I would rather recommend that you use the resume format, even if you're applying for academic purposes, just because it's much more neater and will present you in a much more formal manner. Okay, sounds good? Are we all clear? The difference between a resume and CV? This is because a lot of universities, whether you're applying through Common App or any other portal, they will ask you, some would say a CV, some might say a resume. So I would just recommend that you stick to what the wording is saying and present it accordingly. Perfect. So I think now you all can understand that you need a resume or at least a CV right now, but we'll draft it in the form of a resume. Correct? So one thing is, be it recruiters, be it admissions officers, they will only spend about 6 seconds looking at a resume. And you can find the statistic anywhere, because with the amount of and nowadays actually the ATS looks at it. Now the ATS is something which is completely automated, and they won't even look at your resume. They have put in keywords. So let's say if you are graded out of 100, they will say कि हमें 90% above वाला बच्चा चाहिए, तो they will put 90 in the score part. Then they will also put in keywords as, let's say if you're going for marketing, they might say I want somebody who can do teamwork, I want somebody who is creative, who knows Google Ads or Google Analytics. So they will put in these keywords, and only a resume that has these keywords will then showcase them. Okay, this is a relevant candidate for you, right? Okay. So that's one thing. Now, when you look at, which is why when you're creating your resume, make sure that it is very clear and it has all the keywords that you need. Now, this is a resume that I had created. Of course, it isn't an updated one, which is something that you should know, that you must, keep your resume updated at all times. This is what it looks like. Can you all, just maybe type down what you feel or what you like or dislike about the resume that you see in front of you? Quickly, I think just one keyword. What do you like or dislike about the resume over here? Too clustered, okay. Okay. Can you all see the formatting though? Do you think the formatting is correct? Do you think it is aligned well? Can you all clearly segregate though कि okay, इसमें this, if they need to know that what the education looks like, they can easily spot education, they can see where my leadership activities are, what my skills are. Do you think it is easy to point all of that out? Okay. Okay. So essentially what we're trying to look at is there are different sections of a resume as well, which is what makes the section of a resume much more appealing and makes it well structured. A lot of things of course are missing, but this is based on my profile. Now just a little bit of background for you all is that I graduated in marketing, and this is probably a resume that I created when I was doing my recruiting. Of course I updated it more after that. But if you'll see, okay, this won't have a lot of those topics. Yeah. So when I was recruiting, actually, I had keywords like Google Analytics, Google Ads, digital marketing, because nobody was looking for a marketing person. Everybody was looking for a digital marketing person. All of the roles mentioned, those are key skills that they needed. So in my skills and interest, I mentioned keywords like Google Ads, Google AdWords, and all of those things. Now we'll break up each section, and I want you all to go through it very clearly and patiently and take your notes. Okay. So the very first section is your basic details, which is this section. Can you all see that? Now this section is where your name should be the clearest possible. It should be bold. It shouldn't be too big. It should be big enough for me to be able to know किसका resume मैं देख रही हूँ. I shouldn't be having to figure out whose resume am I looking at. I can't see the name. Okay. This is your email address. Your address, which I would ideally say your mailing address. Okay. And then your phone number. Now, when you start applying, if any one of you is applying at international universities, you must mention +91 and then your phone number. Okay. So as soon as you start thinking about things at an international level, it becomes extremely important for you to start mentioning your country code, the country you are staying in, and all of the other things. Okay. Is it clear? Can I get a thumbs up? Okay. So within our basic details section, we're adding our name, our email address, our phone number, and address. Now, one thing that will make you stand out at the level that you all are at is adding your LinkedIn. Very few students maintain one, and even fewer add it to their resume. So make sure that you are adding your LinkedIn as well. Okay. Adding your LinkedIn here will be much more helpful, just so that I can easily locate it. Okay. So name, email address, phone number, and your phone address as well as LinkedIn. Is that clear? These 5 things must be included in your basic detail section. So this is like a check that you need to have. If these 5 things aren't added, then the basic hygiene of the resume is missing, because that will still leave me in questions. We want to make sure anybody who wants to contact me should be able to contact me very easily. Okay. Then we have the education and honors section, which is supposed to be the main highlight. So if you are a student applying for undergrad, that means your class 10th and your class 12th becomes most relevant. Okay. अब आ जाते हैं कौन सा मेंशन करना चाहिए कौन सा नहीं. 12th class के इस टाइम पे you won't have results when you're applying, hence mention the latest score that you have. अब अगर तुम्हारा 11th क्लास का स्कोर अच्छा नहीं है, मेक श्योर दैट यू मेंशनिंग क्लास 10th रिजल्ट्स. बट ये नहीं कि 10th भी नहीं अच्छा है तो मैं 9th मेंशन कर देती हूँ. दैट वोंट वर्क. If you're currently in class 10th, mention class 10th results. If you're currently in class 11th, mention class 10 results. If you're in class 12th, mention class 11 results. But if that is also bad, then mention class 10 results. But you have to mention a score so that they can also look at your academic aptitude. Now, within this, you might also, for somebody who's in post-grad, do not include your latest semester GPA. You have to include your cumulative GPA, and you must mention, let's say you don't need to mention up to which. This should be pretty clear. Okay. Now, which is, itna clear aa raha hai? Can you all clearly see where I studied it, where I,
अच्छा
yeah, can you all see where I studied from? Is that clear? Bloomington, Indiana, this was the location. So for all of you, let's say it is Sacred Heart Convent School, Ludhiana. So you're going to mention Sacred Heart Convent School, hyphen, Ludhiana, Punjab, and then India. So you don't need to mention Punjab, just mention Ludhiana, comma, India. Okay. Major will become completely irrelevant. This line will go blank. Now GPA ki jagah, you can mention your latest score, which is grade 12th, yeah, grade 10th, 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, 9.6 out of 10, whatever it might be. Okay. If you are, you should mention over here in this line, if you're studying the subjects of science or commerce or whatever it might be. Now that CBSE and other curriculums also allow you a mix of, subjects, just make sure that you're writing the most relevant ones and write, with psychology or with legal studies or whatever you feel is relevant. Okay. Do we mention GPA or CGPA? So it depends on what scoring you are getting. As I think for you, it will be CGPA because you're in CBSE. So your latest grade 10th का score. So if grade 11th wasn't good, grade 10th CGPA में आया तो उसमें mention करना है. अगर percentage आया तो percentage mention करना है. Don't change anything yourself. Don't use an online converter to change your score. That is only going to worsen things. Use the most ऑथेंटिक विच इज जो रिपोर्ट कार्ड में लिखा हुआ है ना वो लिखना. अब अपनी तरफ से बेस्ट ऑफ 4, बेस्ट 5 ये सब करके मत करना. इट्स ओनली गोना स्पॉइल इट फॉर यू बिकॉज if as an admissions officer when I calculate your percentage and I see कि तुम्हारा बन रहा है 88%, but just because you wanted to show in 90s तुमने लिखा हुआ है 91%, I am gonna start doubting everything else that you've written on your resume just because I'll think कि मतलब they've been trying to make up for something that they don't have. जो तुम्हारे main 5 हैं, mention those scores. Now you might feel कि अच्छा, but I need to tell them this relevant information that I was top 10 in my school, or I was top 10 in my batch, or I scored the highest in mathematics, or any other thing that you feel is relevant कि this will give them, अब ये मत mention करना कि नहीं average ही सबका 60 था इसलिए मेरा तो 62 आया तो you should think that I did a good job. No, that won't be something nice to mention. Just mention highest achiever in mathematics grade 10th, or top 10 scholar in school, could be anything, but only if you're certain about it, कि ताकि अगर तुम्हारे कोई counselor or anybody else writes the letter of recommendation, that they can attest to it. Okay, sounds clear? Now, some schools also offer scholarships. Just make sure that you're adding those scholarship details also. Like when I went to college, I had two scholarships. Now, one was the Global Engagement Scholarship and the other was another scholarship. So I mentioned both of those scholarships because that um, built my credibility. Plus, for my college, it was a big thing that if you have a good high school achievement, you become a Kelly Business School direct admit, which otherwise everybody else is a standard admit. So anything relevant that could showcase कि अच्छा मैंने ये बढ़ चढ़ के किया है, then everybody else was a value add. Okay. Another thing that you must mention is I have also mentioned my certifications over here. Okay. Now I did two certifications, and why I have mentioned them over here on the top is because सिर्फ दो ही करे थे, and I felt it was pretty irrelevant to just waste a full section on my certifications, because if you look at my resume otherwise, sorry, over here, I had a lot of other important things to talk about. Hence, I only used a very small space of my resume to talk about this. Okay. So is it clear? This is technically your education and honors. My honor was the scholarship. My honor was the certification course I did. My honor was being a direct admit, all of those things. It could also be that I scored. Now, this is from a post-grad point of view. So for anybody who's in undergrad, it could also be that maybe highest achiever in XYZ semester. Now, you might feel कि तुम्हारे semester में तुम्हारा highest score था. Mention that. All of that is fine, but don't lie anywhere. Can we mention achievements as cultural activities as well? I will answer that question later on. Achievements of cultural activities. Can you give me an example? Do we add achievements of Olympiads in this section too? Yes, very good point. You should definitely add your Olympiads in this section as well, but make sure, what sometimes a lot of students miss out on is that you don't add कौन सा Olympiad, which year, and कहाँ का rank है. So make sure that you're giving them relevant information like 9th rank in school for science Olympiad or XYZ, और कौन सा था कौन से year में. In orchestra, yes, sure, but also again give them relevant information. And then you might also want to add within your skills and interests about orchestra so that then they can connect it back. Now, a lot of you also give Trinity exams to showcase your skill set. Now, Naisa, someone like you might also want to mention like French level B2 that you've completed within your achievement section as well. In case there's a scoring, Trinity exams देते हो, so Trinity exam का कौन सा level pass किया है, add that. You can also mention about abacus, a lot of people do, Vedic maths, a lot of people do. Any such relevant जिसके ऊपर there isn't a lot to talk about. Like what else can you mention about an Olympiad, right? Like you studied, you got it. So this is anything relevant to you that you did academically or non-academically, but completely relevant as an honor. Okay. Okay. Any other questions in this section? Is section 1 and 2 clear? Can we move forward? Okay. All right. Now, what you don't have to do within the first two sections. A lot of you will find resume templates, or not resume templates, sample resumes online, and you will see a photograph. Do not insert a photograph unless you know of somebody, unless you're looking into the field of art and design. If you're looking into the field of art and design, feel free to add your picture because that adds to the aesthetic and all. But if it's not art and design, do not include your picture at all. Okay. Our achievements in group projects, fine. Can you give me some more reference to what group project, where was it conducted, what level was it, and how relevant was it? Your address must be there and your relevant and latest education should be there. Now, a lot of you might be pursuing, some of you have a diploma in Kathak. add that to your education and honors section, because that is also a diploma. Okay. Then your name, email, phone number, and LinkedIn. The other important thing is you must hyperlink your email and LinkedIn, so that if I have to email you right after that, don't make me go through the struggle of copying your thing, फिर उससे send होएगा नहीं होएगा, कोई एक letter gmail.com का M रह गया, मैंने गलत type कर दिया. Don't bank on that. Okay, so make sure that you're hyperlinking it, so that as soon as I click on it, I can see your LinkedIn, or if I want to email you, I can directly email you through that. And make sure that you're mentioning your achievements and scholarships as well. Like group dance, sure, you can add it, but I think as you go through the workshop, you might feel there might be some relevant areas for you to talk about it as well. Okay. Now this section is very important, because you have to make sure that you're crafting it carefully. Your professional and work experience. There are 3 important things that you must look at, which is strong action words, give numbers, and give result. Okay. Now, a lot of you must have participated in a lot of things. And as an international recruiter, or even sitting in Chandigarh, I might not know what about an event that you participated in Mumbai, or about how prestigious that event was. Okay. Somebody sitting in Bangalore might not know about YFS. So it's very important for us to give them relevant information, which is where your numbers come in. Result. Let's say someone out of you might say that I came in top 12 ideas. Okay. But how do you give them relevant information कि भैया वहाँ पे 110 plus ideas थे? Okay, so you have to tell them that I got selected in top 12 ideas out of 110 plus ideas pitched. Okay, now that is relevant numbers. You have to give them the result, and then strong action words about brainstormed, innovated, developed, prototyped, XYZ. Okay, any relevant keyword that will tell them about what you did. Okay, because we have very less space, we can't be using I did XYZ. It's short phrases, but relevant ones. So this is a format that you can all take a picture of. This is a format I swear by personally. Why I'm saying that is because I think it makes it very clear about how you're progressing and how what all you've done. Now each activity that you talk about. Okay, let's take Young Founder Summit for example, because I believe for the benefit of everyone, all of you have done it. When you're talking about it, you write Young Founder Summit. Now, this isn't just company name. It could be, let's say, ये कोई school का event होता. You would have mentioned Saint Kabir Public School or Vivek High School. Location is where the school is located, which is Chandigarh, India. Now, when you have to mention about, let's say, YFS, we're talking June 2024. Okay. Now, don't go into the nitty-gritties कि नहीं ये तो May 31st को हुआ था, 3 days का था ना, just mention June 2024. Then in position, you can all write young founder. Okay. Is that clear? For any other competition or anything else that you're doing, just clearly mention the company name, who is hosting it, is essentially what company name means. Location में it means कहाँ पे किया है. Now, a lot of you must have done internships or job shadows, which might have been virtual. Just write virtual over there. Okay. Cool. Let's have a look at this. And I want you to look at a couple of things. When you see over here, I've very clearly mentioned who the hiring people were. Okay. This is residential programs and services. Where was it located? How long I did? And what my position was. Okay. I prefer make ये position name को थोड़ा सा italics में करना, just so that it stands out and you can have a clear look at that as well. Now, if you look through all of each line, it will tell you something about what I did, what I achieved, and what I learned. Okay. So responsible and accountable for 50 plus students while being a role model to them academically and personally. Demonstrated strong organizational skills while planning and promoting events, resulting in 90% participation. Managed diverse personalities and facilitate difficult conversations, resulting in a flow with mutual understanding. I've used numbers because अगर मैंने सिर्फ इतना लिखा होता कि demonstrated strong organization skills while planning and promoting events, so that would just have been a blank statement. Okay, with no idea of मैंने क्या किया, what was the value I brought in. If I really have to stand out, if they look at कि अच्छा मैंने 90% participation करी है, that means I brought something valuable to the table. Okay. If you look at this again, I said improved website user experience by an average of 45% with added digital tools for 14 small businesses in Indiana. Can you all understand that within a year, now the recruiter knows or the adcom knows what did I do, what was the result, for how many? Okay. Now coming back to the previous statement where I said action word. ये तुम देख रहे हो action word responsibility, action word action taken, action word result. Each statement must start with an action word. अगर तुम देखोगे responsible, demonstrated, managed, improved, coordinated, analyzed, initiated, tested. Does this give you some knowledge about me? Do you think I can be trusted with responsibility or I can be a leader? Right? So what I want for you all is to use like अगर मैं सिर्फ आपके first word देख के I can make a lot of inference about the type of contribution you will make to my organization as well. So the first word is probably the most important word that you can look at. Sarah, I think even you would agree when we were going through your resume back again, I think the way we completely changed the outlook of the resume was just by changing the first word of each bullet point, correct?
Yes, exactly.
So I think just make sure that you're adding all of those relevant information and keeping it to the point. Now, you don't have to completely talk about everything, but just make sure that you're giving them enough information कि मुझे समझ आ जाए. It shouldn't leave question marks कि भाई किया क्या, right? Now, when I'm talking about it, I said I expanded the customer base. I added lead generation tools. मैंने ऐसे किया है, इतनी देर में किया है, business process automate किया, and XYZ. I'm giving them completely relevant information. Okay, is this part clear? Do you all have any questions, any doubts about how you should be adding? Any questions? Yes. Any questions? Okay, let's follow this format and let's just do it for Young Founder Summit for the benefit of everyone. Or take any accomplishment that you're proud of, or any internship that you might have done, any competition you might have participated in, anything relevant to what you would want to add. Why don't you write the first bullet point, your responsibility? Okay, can you all quickly type that down in the chat box? I will wait for you all. Innovated is good. So if I, let's say, had to write the first bullet point, I would say brainstormed. So the very first activity that you all did was of brainstorming ideas. So some tables would have had 20 plus ideas on their table. What you need to do is maybe talk about brainstormed 20 plus business ideas, 20 plus problem statements in 10 minutes. Brainstormed 20 plus problem statements in 10 minutes to further build on. 20 plus problem statements for business ideas. For brainstorm 20 plus problem statements for business propositions within 10 minutes. Okay. And then when you tell me what the next thing that you did, you next word where next line, next bullet point which says what action did you take? Now you all brainstormed a problem statement, then you all built upon a problem statement as well. So you can also mention that not ideated, innovated and developed an idea to XYZ. Then you can mention about whatever business you worked on. Okay. Ideated and developed an app that can connect musicians with artists to further XYZ. Now you all know what problem statement you worked on, so make sure that you're adding that. Okay. Then your result could be selected as 18 under 18 young founder of the region, selected as selected in top 12 ideas, selected in top 24 ideas among 100 plus ideas. Now you need to tell me if it was selected in top 24 ideas among 100 plus ideas, selected in top 12 ideas among 100 plus ideas, selected in 18 under 18 top 18 under 18 young founders among 100 plus participants. Okay, this will give me more relevant information. Now, even if you did not win something concrete, you can mention that developed business strategies to build. Now, तुम सबने costing unit economics किया था. You can mention about that you know on how the idea can be built from 0 to, let's say, 3 CR business or whatever it might be. Now give that information, because then it tells me that you've thought it through and it's just not anything else. Yes, you can mention about the business model as well. Okay. So the result of it is extremely important. What did you do is very important. And what were you tasked with? The very first aspect is what you must mention. Okay. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? So you can mention it as selected as, so if let's say an investor promised you an investment, mention that, like promised, तुम्हारा first action word has to be very strong, like selected as or won the second position among 100 plus founders or among 12 plus teams from 32 schools. Now that becomes more relevant information, because then it tells me the scale of the event. Okay. I think someone, if I have won in more than one competition, I have to mention all the competitions. Absolutely. So this is like a brag sheet, I would say. For your brag sheet, you should mention all the competitions. So let's say some of you also participated again in YFS. Now, when I follow this format, जब मैंने तुम्हारी position में यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है, you can also write, you can also add another, बस company name, location, ये वाली line same रहेगी. From position, you just copy this line and then इसके again फिर से नीचे डाल दो, and then you can mention the year you participated in. Can we mention MUNs? Absolutely. You must mention MUNs. If, and especially with students who are looking into legal or any relevant international relations, for them mentioning MUNs becomes much more relevant. Where do we mention about sports accomplishments? Similar format. अगर तुम्हारा, let's say it could be basketball. Now, if let's say you're a part of the school team, I would say that you write, let's say St. Kabir Public School, location is Chandigarh, India. You mentioned कब से you've been participating in the school team. यहाँ पे you can write team captain or you can write team player, and then you mention led the team to victory in 5 plus competitions at both state and national level. Or you could also mention you know, anything relevant about how you worked in the team, learned about teamwork, because then it also tells me what you learned. So the result could be something, could be a softer skill also, where you could mention learned how to handle team criticism or how to lead the team towards a common objective. Okay. Where do we mention the courses we have done? So we'll walk through all of that as well. But do we have any questions on what and how we should draft our bullet points? Because more than anything, Your bullet points are the most important thing that you must look at. Do we have some clarity on this? Does anyone have any questions? Perfect. Okay. This I've made clear for all of you. This you can definitely look at. I just have an example here which says कि अगर let's say you have three things to talk about कि you have done 20% revenue growth in your department over 2 years. A promotion to supervisor was awarded to me after only 1 year of service, and responsibility was recognized as one of my strengths. अगर ये तीन की पॉइंट्स तुम बताना चाहते हो, how do you put it up professionally? Increased revenue by 20% through MIS reports created, promoted to supervisor due to number of projects completed, attendance and leadership displayed. Now let's say even if you've been given a scholarship or you've been awarded as anything. Now, let's say you were given 18 under 18 young founder. All of you know what the criteria was for 18 under 18 young founder. Mention that. Awarded 18 under 18 young founder due to exceptional skill set displayed, potential to be whatever, जो भी pointers थे उसमें, mention all of that. Okay. And then responsible for project of XYZ dollars and recognized for the same. ठीक है? Can we mention about the NGOs I've worked with? Absolutely mention that. At a more undergrad level, or at least at a high school level, you can create another box for community service. Okay. And then within that, you can write about the NGOs as well and what you contributed. The main point is heading can be whichever. Heading does not matter. Heading is the least of our concern. The most important is what we're writing within it. Everything else does not matter to me. Okay, no fancy brand names matter. Because let's say you might have had a very fancy brand name, but अगर तुमने वहां पे कुछ contribute नहीं किया है, I am not impressed by what you've done. Because I am looking for my keywords. Okay, I want to see what you did. Where you did does not matter. Okay, so what I do have for you all is a special gift, which is a list of action words that you can use in your resume. Now, those are about 843 action words that we'll share with you. उसके अंदर you will have it for all sorts. मतलब अगर तुम्हें कुछ analytical या financial लिखना है, you can talk about invested, maintained, managed, measured, audited, balanced, all of those things. Communication है, so you can talk about expressed, facilitated, formulated, furnished, generated, everything relevant. मतलब just think of क्या दिखाना चाहते हो तुम, and you will be able to look through some words, because I do know it gets tough sometimes to brainstorm, but we've created a list of 843 action words that you can use. Okay. Why we've created this is because I was heavily into recruiting, heavily into interview prep. So a lot of soft skills training is what we do each year for all of our students. So that's just how we've gotten this. Okay. All right. Now again, this is just some of the activity section. Now when all of you spoke about kaise dikhana hai, about some activities that you've participated in. Let's say for me, I created this organization in college by the name StartX. This is also what, when I remember when I told you all this is why I started YFS, this is essentially the reason. StartX was the organization. It was a student-run club, and I was the president and founder of it. I started by writing, identified the need for an entrepreneurial space at IU to share ideas and seek partnership, recruited, developed, and led the leadership team into discussions around creating value constantly, collaborated to create the first podcast series featuring student entrepreneurs with more than 1,000 views. Clear है? क्या था, मतलब responsibility क्या थी, action क्या लिया, and result क्या था, right? Then let's say this is another club I participated in, but I've mentioned clearly this was my position. I wrote, developed strategies for 15 local businesses and marketing, resulting in ideas being implemented, spearheaded meetings and communicated with the members weekly, increasing participation of members. Okay, so it becomes very clear about what is it that we are looking for. Okay, then again, you know, anything that you want to look at, is essentially what you want to talk about. Matlab, it has to be very clear, it has to be relevant, because you don't want to waste space. Because अगर मैं देख रही हूँ, I'm putting energy into it, and if I see it's only fluff कि तुमने जबरदस्ती के 3 pointers बनाए हुए हैं, don't do it. If let's say I've added one line only, it doesn't mean that this activity wasn't important. A peer tutor is probably one of the most important, or a very academic oriented, that will build my credibility. But there is no need to fluff around it, and it's as clear as it is. I was a peer tutor, I taught students Excel. Okay? So for all of you, are there some activities that you're confused about कि इसके अंदर कैसे add करना है? How do we talk about a certain activity? Just unmute yourselves and ask, is there any activity that you're confused about on, and you want to understand how you want to talk about it?
Can I
Yeah.
ask?
Hmm.
How do I put, like, I was part of the editorial team, like I was one of the people, one of the only 5 people who was managing it.
Okay, so was this done by your school?
Yeah, I was like in the editorial for the newsletter.
Okay, so सबसे पहले हमारे पास आ गया start text की जगह हमने लिखा, wait, let me take this back to the format that we had. यहाँ पे आ गया Kamal Convent School,
Yeah.
Chandigarh, India. What year was it? Which month did you start and when did you end it?
I don't remember, but like in 11th.
Okay, so हम अप्रैल ले लेते हैं, अप्रैल में स्टार्ट होता है, अप्रैल whatever year 2023, खत्म हुआ हमारा मार्च 2024 में, ठीक है? What position was it?
Editor.
Okay. Could you also call it chief editor? Since you were
I
the
mean, there wasn't any particular position. No one was chief editor, but like we were all doing it like in a team. All had equal positions.
okay, so
There were
like
4 people, I guess, right?
okay, so use your judgment to fluff around it, but don't lie. Okay, अगर
could
तुम्हें
be-
लगता है कि हम लिख सकते हैं chief editor, write that. Okay, one other thing is, what was your newsletter called?
I will have to check and maybe Carmelite something.
Okay, मान लेते हैं Carmelite था. So mention Carmelite, then hyphen Carmel Convent School. Okay, because then it becomes much more relevant. मान लेते हैं हमने यहाँ पे लिख दिया chief editor. Okay, now editor से better chief editor sound करता है. When we're writing, what did you do? So one is, how were you selected? You were selected.
Because like Sonia ma'am recognized my aptitude in literature and my love for writing.
Okay.
After that, what I did was that we had like students submit poems and their articles to us, and
Okay, सबसे
we
पहले हम
were,
इतना लेते हैं, इतना
Okay.
लेते हैं. You were only 11th and 12th class students can be selected.
I guess it was only 11th.
Okay, so 11th में approximately how many students are there in Kamil? If we have about 40 or 30 students in each class.
Yeah, so more than 150, I guess.
Okay, so selected in 5 among कितने 150 plus students in
Yeah.
to be on the editorial board, to be on the school
Yes.
editorial board.
Yes.
First line बन गई. When you're talking about the actions you took, then you said that you asked everybody to submit. Okay, was it an overwhelming amount of
Yes, absolutely. There were a lot of submissions.
okay, how many?
Well, I don't remember that, but there were a lot, like from classes from 6 to 12.
Okay.
So
Now it's time to go to our resume list of action words, wherein जहाँ पे हमने देखा, अभी इसमें सारी नहीं है, okay? So you will get that list. But let's say communication में you could say built and curated and I'm forgetting what word it could be, but when we go through the list, we'll find that word. Curated, you could essentially say a resource library for everyone. Curated and diagnosed का कोई better word, through a resource library for publishing quality content. या पहले तो तुमने लिख दिया of 250 plus written documents, which is curated and documented 250 plus written documents by students of high quality as
Okay.
compared to 50 plus last year.
Okay. Even though if
It's an
it's like,
example. मतलब
yeah,
you use your knowledge, I'm sharing what I know. मतलब तुम
they
इतना,
weren't high quality. That was the hard part.
but you have to you don't have to tell them that. Okay.
Yeah.
Use your discretion. And then you talk about what the result was. Kamlat received the best newsletter response among all of Tri-City. Could be anything. Matlab, whatever you want to showcase as the result, कि matlab, during my tenure, this is what I was able to accomplish either through my leadership or through anything else is what you want to talk about.
Newsletter is just for our school.
Matlab, however you want to mention it, whatever result you want to showcase, you know that better. कि क्या accomplish. Okay. All right. Is that clear? Write something, get it reviewed by me, but हर एक उस पे brainstorm it, okay? Like think of how can we improve it. How do we include our talents? Let's say it's something as basic as not really basic though. Matlab, let's say Didi, you're good with poetry, right? So you can, let's say if you've created a book of poetry, I would say you mention the book name and then you talk about wrote 20 plus poems about XYZ, or created a resource library of whatever. But what you can also do is something as small as this also, where you feel it's very difficult to lay it out. यहाँ पे जैसे एक लाइन में यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ, you can also write कि created a resource or like wrote 35 plus poems on topics such as love, poverty, XYZ. So when you're also telling me the diverse topics you wrote about, it also tells me how your mind really works. Okay. It gives me a better idea about your interests rather than just simply writing poetry. Okay. You can also add that. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Some things that you have to talk about when you're looking through your, basically what you've done or the activities you've done is what position did you hold? What impact did you bring? What was the result of your project or initiative? And what responsibilities did you have? I don't care what everybody else did. What matters the most to me is what you did, because I'm not here to see कि अच्छा किसी और ने क्या किया. I want to learn what you did. Yes, Manushri.
Ma'am, do we also mention our hobbies that may or may not be related to the idea we are pursuing?
Absolutely, 100%.
If I'm pursuing music or laws, and if I mention something related to art, so can we do that, and how do we do that?
If you're pursuing something related to music and
Law.
okay. So see, one is when we're looking at college applications, there is a very interesting theme that you can take out of it when you're talking about it, let's say in your SOP or in your essays. For the purpose of resume, if you have a lot to talk about it, put it in some sort of heading. It could be that you have your own Insta page about music. Mention the company name की जगह talk about वहाँ पे अपना Instagram का page लिख दो, write it virtual लिख दो उसके ऊपर, and then mention built an Instagram account for music and curation of content. कुछ भी ऐसा सा कि मैंने अपना YouTube page बनाया है. Now I'm working. I've collaborated with 5+ artists to give road shows, or I'm doing it in cafes. I've presented it in 5+ cafes. Now there are ways to build upon your activities also. If you aren't already doing, we can definitely talk about it as well, but you must absolutely talk about it.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. You can mention as selected one among 10 out of 100 plus people or however many. Alka, this is an answer to your question. Selected one among 10 of XYZ amount. Okay. But just remember the keyword is a very, very strong action word. That is most important for us. Okay. Can you mention about adventure sports? Yes. Yes, you can. This is the last section, which is why it's also very important. I remember when when I was recruiting, I had not watched Game of Thrones, and at the time, Game of Thrones was the topic. So just mentioning, I remember, I think मैंने कहीं पे mention किया हुआ था, never watched Game of Thrones. And I remember a recruiter asking me, and he was like, same, like even I haven't watched it, and why do people make such a big deal out of it, and XYZ, and we just connected on that. There are also people who love Game of Thrones, and then they would come to me and tell me, like, oh my God, don't tell me you haven't seen it. But it at least got us started with a conversation, whereas sometimes it gets so difficult to break the ice that something like this always helps. Some person might have foodie, someone might have travel, someone might have dance or poem or whatever. You can add anything that you like, but just keep some relevant, keep some fun, so that they can also be conversation starters. It just shows a personality of you. Like if you've written, somebody has written author, suddenly don't you think that builds so much credibility about you as well? So mentioning things like that definitely can be, conversation starters that can help you take the conversations further. So that sometimes, because half the time it is extremely difficult if somebody's interviewing you, other time to wo yahi bolenge ki matlab, hi, how are you? And then it just completely starts off at a very formal note. So this is just something to help you, if you mention young founder, they're just gonna ask you, okay, tell me more. What have you founded? What business are you working on? And that just suddenly becomes a great conversation starter. अगर अब मैंने थोड़ा ऐसे boring data analytics and visualization लिखा है, Adobe Suite लिखा है, these are all very boring. But when you're looking for a job, these would become relevant. तब उनको इतना नहीं होएगा. ठीक है? जैसे if let's say you're looking for any now, मान लेते हैं you're looking. This is from the perspective of a job. When you look through a job description, you will find keywords. They will say we are looking for somebody who can work in a team. फटाफट जाके अपने resume team work डाल दो. If they are saying we want somebody who is creative, mention the word creative in your resume somewhere. Like if you're looking through a university, let's say I'll just give you a quick example. Let's say we're looking at Columbia University. Okay, किसी भी यूनिवर्सिटी का देखोगे, you will be able to find their values. Okay, मैंने अभी Columbia University core values search किया है. You will easily be able to find what sort of a student are they looking for. Now, when you're talking about it, make sure you're talking about it through your essay, your resume, and through different angles. It is showcasing that. Okay, now create an environment where people. Actually, this is there. Now, this is dialogue across differences, probably their biggest value that they're looking at. So they want to see somebody who's really civil and empathetic and values initiative. Okay. They don't want somebody who waits for somebody to take action. They want somebody who एक problem देखता है and they do something about it. They either engage in discussion or they take initiative. Okay. Now, if you just mention something like initiated, that already starts to resonate because that's the type of person the adcom is looking for. Okay. All right. Okay. And then just a basic recap is keep it well aligned. Formatting बहुत clear होनी चाहिए. It should be crisp, clear, and strong action words. I cannot keep repeating that. Make it result oriented, because what a lot of you miss out on is what was the result. तुमने काम किया, but if it didn't give out any result, it was worthless and it is meaningless. Pick out buzzwords from that job or industry or that activity. If you're applying for a marketing major, make sure you're using keywords as branding, creative, teamwork, leadership, design. All of these are important words that you need to have. Misspelling is like, please, because that really hurts and it triggers people off. And then check multiple times and get it checked from multiple people, because sometimes you won't see you won't see an error, and then somebody else might see an error, which of course you don't want, right? So sometimes it's always better to get feedback, but get feedback from relevant people, not everybody, and then get it checked from multiple people for spelling errors or how you could possibly improve the structure of your line. Okay, your bullet points. I have a free editable resume template, so you all do not have to worry about creating it from the ground up. I will share that with all of you. For all those who've registered, you'll get it in your email, which is alongside the action words that you all have. Okay, so you don't have to go through all of it. CV के अंदर, now some of you who are looking into, let's say, a technical aspect like music or art and design, or want to showcase how skilled you are in, let's say, Photoshop. So then sometimes people prefer showcasing essay, Photoshop यहाँ पे लिख दिया. Some people also write languages to show. Now, you can also show your skill set the way they have shown through a bar, or you can also showcase it through beginner, intermediate, professional, advanced, all of those as well. I won't recommend rating it as 8 out of 10. अब ये जैसे किसी ने लिखा ना adaptability. Now, how can you mention this as adaptability? How do you really put a number at it? It's very difficult, right? Because it's a soft skill. So don't put these sort of things for soft skills. Use it only for hard skills, which is जैसे languages हो गई, any software that you know of, any dance के अंदर या कथक हो गया, उसके अंदर you can say, right? So anything like a hard skill, you could say vocal music, you can put something. ठीक है? Okay. So for some examples, what I also want to give for you all is that I'll share the template. I'll also share the action words, but make sure that you're creating something proper and then send it to me so that I can give you some concrete feedback. Never create it on a Google Doc. Oh my God, I cannot emphasize it enough, because when you create it on a Google Doc, वो change होके formatting में कहीं और जाएगा. So either stick to one thing. Like basically you can create it on a Google Doc, but then उसको download करके Word doc में मत edit करना. So if you want to share your resume with me for some sort of feedback, please create it in a Google Doc so that I can mark as comments, and then you don't have to completely change the formatting. Okay, and then share the Google Doc link with me. But then whenever you have to send it, please send it as a PDF. Okay. When not to me, but to anybody else, whenever you have to upload it, the way you name your document also, it's not just for resume, but for any other document as well. Mention it as just say Navya Mehta _ resume with N capital, M capital. Okay, Navya Mehta के अंदर कोई space मत दो, but when you keep N and M capital, it makes sense क्योंकि these are two words. _ resume. If it's your transcripts, Navya Mehta _ transcripts, so that it's very clear to locate as well. Okay. Again, formatting is of highest importance. Alignment, right align किसको, dates को right align करना है, सारी positions को left align करना है. जब तुम bullet points बना रहे हो, ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि कुछ bullet points इधर है, कुछ bullet points इधर है. Make sure it is well aligned. It should be relevant. Don't make it irrelevant at any point, because then the person reviewing it can get bored and they will just skip out on it. And keep it professional. Don't use any small, like short words like cuz, because ki jagah CUZ. Don't do that. That's completely unprofessional. Agar let's say dates may be, if you're writing August ko AUG, then make sure कि तुम January को JAN लिख रहे हो, February को Feb लिख रहे हो, July को भी JUL लिख रहे हो. So if you're keeping the 3-word format consistent, do that. Never use, because now when we're looking at the international landscape, don't use 0524. For you, it might be May 24, but US में उल्टा चलता है. They might think of it as, fifth of XYZ month. Okay, so just make sure that you're using letters only for the month. You don't need to include exact dates ki 31st May XYZ. Just keep it completely open-ended as August or July or whatever it might be. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna stop screen sharing and I'm just gonna open it up for any questions that you might have. Any questions about what to include, what not to include? You can unmute yourself as well.
How to mention the courses? I forgot to ask about that.
So the courses you can also mention, let's say if you've done a lot of them, okay, you can make another subsection by the name courses and certifications and mention all of them and mention the year or month you completed them in. Okay. Sections के अंदर ना, so some of you might not have professional experience, which is internships or XYZ. A student at an undergrad level applying for postgrad should have a section as professional experience, which would include the internship experiences they have. But for somebody who's applying for undergrad, who is in high school, will probably not have internships and job shadow experiences, and that is completely okay. You might have a lot of research work, you might have a lot of literary work. उसको heading बना दो. ठीक है? For now, I would say don't worry about clubbing. Just write everything relevant to what you've done. Just बस बहुत सारी pointers like put down, list all your activities basically. उनकी details बना दो. And then उसको club करके हमने shift ही तो करना है ना ऊपर या नीचे. उसको heading हम दे देंगे. ठीक है? Okay. So absolutely, it isn't just because if you want to pursue psychology. The question is, if I want to pursue psychology as my career, so adding cultural achievements will help. I think when they're looking at somebody, especially with the word holistic coming in picture everywhere, I think it's very important that you mention in whichever case, even if you're doing engineering, having a cultural sensitivity is what each college is looking for as well. So make sure that you're adding anything and everything that you've done that you feel is also very important to mention. But yes, it becomes a little bit more relevant in terms of psychology. Okay. Any other questions? Perfect. Maybe, okay, one thing that you all did not know about resumes that you learned today. Can you all quickly type that in the chat box? Okay, the entire resume. Action words. Did not know anything. Format. The difference between a resume and a CV. Okay, awesome. So that is helpful. I'm glad that you all learned something or have some things that you can take away from the workshop. If you all have, there are 3 takeaways that we're providing besides just the workshop. Take the template, use that, don't worry about the formatting and all, usko upload kar do. And then you can share it with me once you have it somewhere. Email me, don't WhatsApp it to me and keep messaging, because that won't help, because phone pe nahi dikhta hai अच्छे से. Email me that you've created the draft and you want me to review it. Put in your best uske andar, so that then when I review it, I can give you maximum amount of inputs, and going back and forth on the same template would be very, very difficult for me as well. If you need any help with what sort of activities you all should be taking up, email me or Inayat. We're happy to help you out with, or even Priyanka for that matter. We're happy to help you organize a special one-to-one session with you and help you on what all activities you should be doing. We do also have some multiple other sessions coming up that we can help you with. We will also share the list of action words with you that you should include. So even if, let's say, you're somebody in class 9, start building your resume. It probably might look completely empty, but please start creating it. The sooner you start creating it, it becomes much easier to keep updating it after every activity. So just make sure that you're starting to create it already. Okay. If it is all clear, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. If you have any testimonial or any feedback, please feel free to write a message. And thank you. Can we all quickly switch on our videos once for a nice picture, though? Okay, everybody's leaving, though I don't think anybody heard. Take care.